fam, hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this from. And if you are new here, I am Wongel Zelalem. One of my favorite movies of all time is Back to the Future. It's about a mad scientist who invents a time machine that allows him to go back in time. An interesting thing about this movie is the concept that they have in there. If you go back in time and change anything in the past, it has consequences on the future, and the world as we know it would be different, down to your livelihood, your house, your family, you as a person, your profession, your country, your neighborhood. Everything will change because of changing a single thing in the past. So I wonder, what would we change? I'm sure there's some leaders we would want to change. I mean, let's be honest. And it also got me thinking about the movie in the context of Africa, which got me thinking about our continent's history, about some of the key moments in our past that have made us who we are and has gotten us here, where we are right now in 2025. I look at the current situation, cases of civil wars, cases of xenophobia, cases of mistreatment of global community, false narrative by Western mainstream media. There's so much potential for us if we unite, if we say no to all the BS that is threatening our unity and is pulling us apart. If we say no to the manipulation, if we say no to the corruption, if we say no to exploitation. So today I want to use my time machine and I want us to go back in time to remind us what has helped us get here, working together. It's important to talk about history, especially shared history within Africa that helped us to come together and conquer an evil, that helped us to move forward. First, let's talk about the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire under Mansa Musa, scholars, traders, artisans from all over the continent gathered in Timbuktu to build a hub of knowledge and wealth. The empire of Mali was known for its immense wealth because of the gold and salt trade. In addition, it was known for its advancements in education, architecture, and establishment of Islam as main religion in Western and Northern Africa. Mansa Musa is believed to be the richest man ever. Most of us have heard about Mansa Musa, but we heard it in a context of he was the richest man alive. And it was, they believe that until today, no one has been able to surpass the wealth that he had before he died. So in that context, we've all heard about Mansa Musa from the Mali Empire, right? We've heard of him. But what we don't know a lot about Mansa Musa is the fact that he allowed scholars, traders, artisans from all over the continent of Africa to come to Mali to work together. He did that. He allowed that. He made sure that borders were bridges and not barriers. That is a great example to learn in 2025 because all those people came together and built something. It was able to be successful. It was an empire that we still talk about because they were able to do great things by coming together. Now let's go back to our time machine. The Pan-African movement. In the 20th century, African leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Nyerere championed Pan-Africanism, calling for unity and solidarity among African nations. Their vision was clear: a continent where Africans could move, trade, and thrive together, free from colonial division. They put their money where their mouth was. Nyerere hosted the ANC from South Africa while exiled. He gave them resources and space to plan and train. Ghana, led by Nkrumah, hosted training camps for the ANC and gave military training. The ANC went to lead the fight for independent South Africa. This was helped by the collaboration. Mozambique and Zambia did the same for Zimbabwe liberation movement. So what can we learn from the past? The Pan-African movement, led by Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Nyerere, was able to help South Africans directly because of their initiative. Let's not also forget King Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. He hosted Mandela and helped facilitate his training. These people directly contributed to the ANC, pushing back against racism and apartheid to live in their own country in peace in South Africa. This came to pass because our fathers, our ancestors came together united to help their brothers and sisters in need. As I also mentioned earlier, Mozambique and Zambia did the exact same thing for Zimbabwe's liberation. They helped the movement. They wanted to see Zimbabwe free, hence why Zimbabwe got free. Africans working together for the greater good. So clearly, these countries were able to achieve by working together freedom for our people. Liberation came faster because we worked with unity. Let's go back to our time machine again. Trans-Sahara trade. Mass migration across West, North, and East Africa. This was also the way we traded as a continent with the rest of the world through the Mediterranean Sea. We exchanged goods, culture, language, ideas. Cities developed from this trade. Mombasa, Zanzibar, Mogadishu. We flourished by working together, made easier by people being able to move freely across the continent. Clearly, we are stronger together than divided. And trading is one of the most important ways for countries and individuals to be successful, to be able to sell their goods, get money, and provide for their family while they're exchanging cultures, while they are creating bonds with that person that they're trading with. So our time machine showed us that we used to trade, Africans. Even though now in present day we're asking for free movement and for us to be able to trade with one another, for our governments to make it easier for us. But back in the days, it was not as hard as now. And look at what they were able to achieve because they were allowed to move around within the continent of Africa. For one last time, I want us to enter our time machine. African Union. This is an organization that has noble roots. It started off as Organization of African Unity in 1963. Heads of 32 independent African countries came together and agreed to form OAU. The goal of the OAU was promoting unity, cooperation, and economic development. And they did. They contributed in ending colonialism and apartheid, mediated border disputes like Kenya and Somalia, championed trade and investment initiatives, promoted peace through initiatives such as peacekeeping missions, and from that, the African Union today has 55 countries. But I want us to remember the past, why it was created, and when it was created in 1963 with the heads of 32 African countries. Their vision was for a united Africa. They tried as much as they can, but we are here now. We can take from them and learn from them and do better, even improve on the things that they were able to accomplish. This is the reason why it's important to go back in time and review and learn and see what our ancestors did. It's important that we talk about the success stories, the stories that will empower us and help us to understand that it was done once and it can be done again. I can't list all the great examples of amazing feats that have been achieved by Africans working together. Add an example or two in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about this. I think it's extremely important for us to address this, to understand what worked for us and what didn't, because it will help us understand or gauge and plan for the future. We can do so much and be the example of greatness rather than what we are stereotypically known for now. One thing we need to do is break down barriers that divide us, including unnecessary laws and policies that keep us apart. I covered a story about Aliko Dangote, the richest, the wealthiest Black man on earth, but also the richest African man on earth. he is Nigerian. And he has to get more visas to move around Africa than he does moving around in Europe. And guess what? A European man from France, because this is something they addressed themselves during that interview, the French man can travel within Africa freely, more freely, with less visa requirements than Aliko Dangote, who is contributing to society, African society, in a great way. Imagine that. This is also a call to African leaders and policymakers to facilitate our movement across the continent easier. It will be beneficial to us all. Imagine a continent where a farmer from Ghana can trade freely with a merchant in Kenya, where a student from Senegal can study in South Africa without barriers, where an entrepreneur from Nigeria can expand their business to Ethiopia with ease. This is the Africa we can build together. I'm glad that some countries have started doing this. Ghana most recently removed visa requirements for all African passport holders. Removing migration barriers is essential to achieving full potential of Africa. It will enable African entrepreneurs, workers, investors to operate seamlessly across borders. I believe it can be done. What are your thoughts on this, fam? Let me know down below.